It's seeing them now. Hey, praise the Lord, everyone. Just giving everybody a minute or two to slide in here, working with just a few little thoughts for this evening. I want to make sure that last week I want to talk about some biblical things, but I also want to talk about some social issues as well. So look, as I work on this, I'm going to work on just sharing a few things, but I just want everybody to get a chance to kind of slide on in here. And as you're sliding on in, we are going to just start into this, just having a little conversation about a few things. So as you're coming in, just go ahead and speak. And if you're on like YouTube or something like that, just type your name in the text. That way I know that you're here, and I can say, okay, I know who's here and who's not here. So I just want to share. I want to share a couple of quick words right here. And if the technology is not working, I'm gonna share this a little bit later on, so you can go back and look at it a little later if you need it. But the George Floyd case has been getting a lot of attention. It's not really a George Floyd case, but just what happened with him on last year. It's about a year ago that George Floyd was killed by police officer Derek Chauvin. So listen, we were sitting by the TV, just watching and waiting on this verdict to come through. And as we were sitting there watching this verdict come through, I began to realize there's a lot of people were protesting. People needed to hear something that was gonna make them feel as if their lives really mattered. Black Lives Matter. And with the Black Lives Movement, we have to understand that, and there are many people that have been working on a lot of different controversies. I'm not going to get into the whole controversy of whether Black Lives Matter or all lives matter. All lives matter because Jesus came to save everybody. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever would believe in him, they should not perish, but they will have everlasting life. But I want to talk about those social issues, because as long as we living in this world, we have to deal with the issues of society. We have to deal with how we are being perceived, how we're accepted or not accepted, and what kind of opportunities that we have. There's been a lot of things that I could share with you guys, but I'm only going to just work on one of these nuggets that I'm working on, because I always have like 2 or 3 nuggets, and I got a lot of stuff I want to share with you. But in the whole movement and the march that was being organized all across the nation with Black Lives Matter, they had a slogan that they worked on, and they hold up the signs and everything, and they say it's no justice, no peace. And I began to really think about that whole thing, and people were marching and they were saying a lot of things. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. And I began to just say, I understand the whole thing of no justice, no peace, but what dropped into my spirit, and I really just want to have that conversation. So listen, it doesn't matter when you hear this message. If you have a comment, please put your comment there. I will respond to it, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, or whenever you put your comment in. We're gonna address those issues, because we really want to continue the conversation. The only way things are going to really change is we got to continue having conversations across our ethnic barriers, across our racial barriers, across our gender barriers, and begin to talk very real and from the heart of those issues that are coming up. We want justice. There's a lot of injustice that happens all over the world. But right here in America, America was found on every man is created equal. It didn't say whether it was a certain status of man. The reason why they came from Europe and from England to come over to America is to have a new life. They already had a a system in Europe, in England, that was all about status. It's that status was a societal system. It was a caste system that they used, and you couldn't rise above your caste system. You couldn't get out of wherever you were slated to be. If you were a farmer, that's where you were destined to be for the rest of your life. You couldn't go into nobility. If you were born a noble, then you were in that nobility because of the caste system. And a lot sometimes, and the ones who escape to come to America to really say we coming to start all over again, to be a fresh new start, whole new set of rules, with no caste system. Yet at the same time, racism is probably one of the biggest caste systems that we have. So we want to have that conversation. So as you're coming in, if you got a question, if you got a comment, please type it into the chat. If you just and if you just coming in and say hey, so at least know that you're there. Type your name in if you're like, okay, I just want to put my name in, initial, whatever they call you, and I know that you're here. I see a couple of people that are here already, but I want to talk about this: no justice, no peace, and I want to kind of focus in on that, because that was the saying, and still is the saying and the slogan of the Black Lives Matter. And as I began to look at this, and I was like, yeah, and I was there. I was a part of the march during the summer that happened right here in the city of Richmond. I went down there, but I was not in that side where I was like, hey man, whatever means necessary. I wasn't there to cause trouble. I wasn't there to break anything. I wasn't there to loot out. I was there to pray and to provide an atmosphere that will be safe for other people. But listen, if we don't do anything, we can't sit back and say, well, we can have an opinion, but really, who wants to hear you talking if you're not willing to put something out there on the line? So I was like, look, I'm not going to be out here just talking about what we should be doing. I'm not going to be out here criticizing. I went out there and I was a part of it, and I saw things happen. I talked to some young people that were a part of the protest, and they were like, we out here protesting. We want justice. We want justice. And I understand that. And I'm like, okay, that's good. And this is what, as I begin to say, we do as a black man, I understand. More probably than anything else, because when we grew up, and we grew up in not rural America, but we grew up in the white suburbs of Virginia, and in the white suburbs of Virginia, sometimes our family was the only black family right there in the suburb, or if we were with other families, if we were in the minority, which basically we most of the time were in the minority. So there was a lot of injustice that was always inflicted upon us as children, and we didn't always understand it. Yet it was something that was very real. It was felt. And everybody wants justice. We all want justice. But even folks that don't that have justice, that are not black or part of the Black Lives Matter, they still want justice. But let me have this conversation with you right here. I want to get to this point. No justice, no peace. And the more I begin to say that, read that, hear that, I begin to understand that that there is an answer to this whole thing about no justice, no peace. And I've heard and there was a statement that just came back to me as I was there, and I was listening to the verdict being read, and we finally got some resolution. Now I'm gonna tell you, it's just a start. This whatever the verdict was for Derek Chauvin, it is just a start. There's been a lot of injustice that's been going on beforehand that has not been righted. There's been a lot of black men that have been incarcerated, some even executed, and they were not guilty. Now the new technology with DNA and sequencing and all that other stuff now have freed a lot of black men who were falsely accused, who could have very well, they were serving life sentences. Some of them already died. Some of them were on death row, but then they found out that, and they had presumed their innocence. And I'm just saying that you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And a lot of times, as a black man, you are guilty just with association. You are guilty just for being black. You're guilty just with the color of your skin. And in that case, we know that there is no justice. There is a system in place that is designed to be able to hold us down. You can't go to a written law that says it, but it is a underlying rule of the mainframe society that holds you back. Now, let me get to this point, because I don't want to get caught up into the socialism thing and say, okay, well, I'm a black man, so I'm gonna say I'm pro-black because I'm black. Back in the day, we were black and we were proud. And I love white folks. I love everybody. I love white folks. I love Asian folks. I love Indian folks. I say that all the time. I don't have a problem with it. I judge a man by his character, not by the color of his skin. And when we understand that when we get to this part, and I want to say this too, because this is the point where the Holy Spirit would just, and I had to write this stuff down. I said, let me write this down and let's have this conversation. If you saying, well, Pastor, I'm just gonna think about this thing. I don't want to say nothing right now. Let me just think about it. Just think about it in this. And I said this: no justice, no peace. But this is what I'm saying: if no justice, no peace, and marching, being violent, and sometimes we say when they say no justice, no peace, the meaning of no justice, no peace means if we're not going to get a fair shake at getting treated like everybody else, then what we're going to do is we're going to disturb any peaceful resolution or any peaceful societal movement that's going on in your city. If we can't find justice, we're going to disturb the peace. We're going to go out and we're going to create, we're going to make some noise. Now, you can do that in a very non-violent way, or you can create chaos when you talk about no peace. Most of the time when you're talking about peace, you're talking about something that is tranquil, that you can flow into. And understand that God says his peace surpasses all understanding. So we need to understand that we need to get God's peace, not our kind of peace, because we want, and I'm not trying to disturb the peace of God, because the peace of God can bring us to the understanding. If the people in charge had the peace of God, they will flow into the understanding. We will have no issue with Black Lives Matter, because every life will matter and everybody would be getting equal justice. But we know that is not the case, so it's not that. And this is where we are right here in this disparity of the treatment of black people, basically due to the color of their skin. Sometimes that person is not even assessed by their knowledge, their education level. They don't even know anything about them. Just look at the color of their skin and automatically go to an assumption. Now, this is what I want to say. When you're talking about peace, I'm going to say Jesus is the Prince of Peace. So if Jesus is the Prince of Peace, and we are looking for something to change in the peace, where we're like, we want something to change in justice, but Jesus is the Prince of Peace, and we want to disturb the peace. If we get Jesus involved in bringing his peace, that's going to automatically change the paradigm of justice. Because of the fact that Jesus, you can't, if there's no justice, no peace, and Jesus is the Prince of Peace and he brings peace, then on the other side, it eliminates the no and automatically brings the justice. So this is what I'm going to say today, and then I'm going to be finished with this. This is my nugget. If you know Jesus, if you know Jesus, K-N-O-W, Jesus, then you will K-N-O-W, know peace, because Jesus is the Prince of Peace. If you don't know Jesus, or I'm going to say this, know Jesus, know peace. If there's no Jesus in the situation and he's the Prince of Peace, there's no way that you can have peace. So listen to this. No Jesus, no peace. no Jesus, no peace. So when we get that into that whole thing, doesn't mean that we can sit back and say, well, Jesus is going to do everything. Jesus already done everything. He put it within us. And then he gives us the ability, or he gives us the forward or and the heart and the passion or compassion to go out and to change whatever the situation is, change society, change everything going. Christians were discriminated against because they were Christians, and they were targeted. Same thing that's happening right here, but they knew Jesus, and because they knew Jesus, things would change. They could not stop the movement of Jesus, because if you know Jesus, you're gonna know peace. With no Jesus, there is no peace. So listen, when we understand those things, protesting is good. That's good. But I want to protest because I know Jesus. I want to protest taking him with me, because I know if I protest, if I march, knowing Jesus, and this is what Dr. Martin Luther King and all those civil rights leaders did beforehand. What they did was very simple. Is they kept Jesus right in front, and they would say, Jesus is that Prince of Peace, so Jesus is gonna flow in the principle of peace that will flow. And so when we keep Jesus right there in the center, then there will be peace that will flow. And because he is the Prince of Peace, he's going to affect the justice. He's going to affect the outcome. And I do believe, because there were so many, George Floyd's family was a praying family. And because they were a praying family, they knew Jesus. So because they knew Jesus, they knew peace. And because they knew peace, and because they knew Jesus, Jesus the Prince of Peace, he changed the paradigm of what had been injustice in the past to make now this justice. So we had this one verdict of victory on the side of justice, that we as a society, as a nation, can say that's one in the books. That's one win for us. Let's keep on going forward. We cannot keep on going forward if we don't know Jesus. Listen, no justice, no peace, but you got to know Jesus to know peace. Because no Jesus means no peace. Listen, I just want to drop that on you right there. Continue to know Jesus, and you're going to find the peace of God that's there flowing all through. And he's going to saturate you with an understanding. I understand some things now. I know that I still got to do something, but at the same time, I know that the one who has the power to make it happen is Jesus. And so I'm not relying on my own power. So I don't have to go break nothing because I'm a black man and I'm angry. I can be black, I can be angry, but the Bible says I can be angry but sin not. But I'm going to bring the justice that needs to be brought, because I know the Prince of Peace. And since I know Jesus, he's going to change the paradigm, and he's going to bring the justice to the forefront, and says all people now will be created the same way, and they will be created equal, just like it's supposed to have been stated right there from the beginning, from the forefathers of this nation. God bless y'all, man. Y'all have a wonderful day. Remember, no Jesus, no peace. But no Jesus, no peace. Y'all have a wonderful, let's work this conversation. If you got a comment that you want to share, just go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm going to see it and I will reply to it. Y'all be blessed. Have a wonderful evening in the Lord.
Hear my prayer, Lord. Hear my prayer, Lord. Hear my prayer, Lord.